Hey, it's Ian from EssentialTennis.com. Welcome to video 3 of 3 in a series that I focused all about the serve and volley and how you can use it most effectively in either your singles or doubles play. In video number 1, I focused all about how to hit your serve and then transition forwards quickly but under balance. And in video number 2, I talked about getting yourself as prepared as possible for whatever shot that your opponent hits towards you first. Either a passing shot, a ball right at you, or a lob. Really important stuff. So if you haven't seen either of those yet, please go watch them first. I'll put a link on this page. Today we're going to focus completely on how to hit that first volley successfully. This is an area that a lot of recreational players falter in. Let's get right to the video. And we've been using this 11-second clip of Zimonjić hitting a serve and moving right in behind it, using a serve and volley. And this is in a practice session versus Novak Djokovic. Okay, so this has been our case study here, and we're going to go ahead and start right where we left off in the last video about the split step. So here he's performing his split step right here, and let's talk about the technique of how to hit your first volley. This is typically referred to as a transition volley. Now, the first thing that happens as soon as Zimonjić identifies that it's going to be a forehand volley is you'll see him pivot and step out onto his outside foot, which here is his right foot. A lot of recreational players make the mistake of immediately crossing over with their opposite foot, which is what they've been instructed by a lot of teaching professionals, is to step across the body. And that's not necessarily wrong, but it's also not necessarily the first move you want to make. Usually, the first move you want to make is to pivot and step out with the outside foot. And this gets him lined up and set up in the direction that the ball is going to intercept his racket on, and really just kind of gets him lined up for the shot. The second important part to point out here is his preparation. Watch how his entire body, he makes a unit turn here with his core, with his shoulders, with his arms, with his hand, and with his racket. Watch how his entire upper body turns to prepare for the oncoming ball. So it's not just his arm, his hand, and his racket. So you hear how we can see the entire back of his body. Once he prepares, we can see most of the front of his body. We can't see his back any longer. And that's because he has rotated his upper body. That is how you should be setting up for as many volleys as possible. You don't always have enough time once you get really close to the net to make a good unit turn. But from back here, absolutely make a strong turn with your body instead of taking the racket back with your arm and with your hand. So it's super important. And he only takes his racket back about as far as the front edge of his body. We're not looking quite straight on. If we were looking directly out to his right, we'd see his racket and his hand gets taken back to about the front edge of his body. A lot of recreational players would take their racket back behind them, again, using their arm and hand predominantly instead of their body to set up for the shot, and that creates a very sloppy technique. Next up on the list, I want to talk about his contact point. Notice how his racket face is slightly open at contact. And when you hit a deep volley, especially a deep transition volley like this back in no man's land, your racket face needs to be at least a little open. Do not make contact with a closed racket face or with a racket face that's flush, that is perpendicular to the court surface. If you do that, you will miss a lot of shots into the net. In my experience, hitting shots into the net either comes down to this or what we're going to talk about next. So make sure your face is at least a little open. Zimonjić's racket is only a couple of degrees open, and that's because he's transferring through the ball well, which we're going to talk about next, and also because Djokovic is giving him a lot of pace to work with already. If he opened his racket up much more than this, he'd be popping the ball up into the air, and it would either go too far or it would sit up and be an easy ball for his opponent. Now we're going to talk about two other quick things. The next one is so important. I'm going to click forwards frame by frame here. Here's right as he's making contact. Now watch what happens with his racket as the ball meets his racket. Watch this. Look, it went away from the ball. Did you see that? Here's contact. Now watch as I click forwards frame by frame. Do you see how his racket is actually moving away from the point of contact? Here's contact, and here I'll go 3 frames forwards. 1, 2, 3. Look, his racket actually went away from the point of contact. What does that mean? It means that Zimonjić has a relaxed grip on the racket. And as the ball makes contact with his racket, the racket actually goes away from the point of contact. That means that he's absorbing pace from the ball. Here, watch. I'll go a couple clicks back before contact. Now watch as I go through contact. See that? You see what's happening there? This is so important. So many recreational players, when they try to hit these deeper volleys, have a death grip on the racket. And the result is lack of control, either of the direction that the ball goes, because they're super, super tight, and the ball gets to their racket and they just kind of like really tensely just punch at it. And the ball tends to just fly off the racket strings that way. It's very difficult to find the right amount of firmness to keep the ball in play and to hit your target when you're really, really tight on the racket. This is absolutely vital. Let's go back to Zimonjić, and something that ties in very closely to this is how he transfers through the ball. And this is the last part that I'm going to talk about, having to be successful with these deep transition volleys. This is the type of volley you're most frequently going to get, the first ball that you get after serving and volleying. So not only is he loose and relaxed, and a lot of you might be saying, well, Ian, his racket is only slightly open, and he's relaxed, and the racket's going away from the point of contact. So how in the world does the ball carry over the net? Why doesn't the ball just drop right off the racket? Well, watch this. Here's the point of contact, and I want you to look at his left foot. And I'm going to go ahead and click through the point of contact. Right now, his left foot, it looks like, if we were to just look at a picture here, it would look like he's stopping here. But watch his left foot. He doesn't actually finish his move through the ball until his left foot is up inside the service line. So look at this. Just watch his left foot. So here's his setup, his pivot and his turn onto his outside foot. Now watch his left foot. Here's really where his motion starts. A good 3 or 4 feet behind the service line. Now watch this. You see that? He's actively transferring his momentum through the point of contact. This is so vital and something that most recreational players totally miss. Watch his body weight move through the point of contact and out towards his target. That's how he can be loose and relaxed and calm and still hit a solid, firm volley to the other side of the court by transferring his body through the point of contact. Usually what you'll see recreational players do is the ball will get to their racket right as their stepping foot, their left foot on a forehand volley, is hitting the court surface. And so they'll kind of time their step and contact at the same point in time. And that stops your momentum and tends to just kill the shot. And the ball will want to fall off the racket. So watch one more time as Zimonjić sets up, turns, and then transfers through the ball and guides the ball towards his target. So those 5 things, I just went over a lot of stuff, and I usually don't like to pack this many things into one video, but I wanted to wrap this series up, and these are all very, very vital elements of hitting a good, solid first volley, a transition volley. Again, those 5 elements were, in order: step onto the outside foot first, then turn and prepare your racket with a unit turn using your upper body, make contact with at least a slightly open face, have soft hands at contact, your dominant hand obviously is what's most important, and transfer your weight and guide through the point of contact actively. Do not stop at the point of contact and step and just kind of halt your momentum. At all costs, you want to try to transfer smoothly through the ball towards your target. So that wraps up this series about being successful with the serve and volley. I went over a lot of technique elements today. I hope you enjoyed today's video as well as the whole series as a whole. If you have any questions at all about anything you saw in today's video or anything having to do with serve and volley at all, please feel free to leave those right below this video player. And also, if you wouldn't mind, please click like on the YouTube video. I would appreciate that very much. And subscribe if you'd like to see more videos right when they come out as I release them. So until then, thank you so much for watching, and best of luck with your tennis. Want to serve more like the pros? Find out how as I compare Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic during my free 5-video course. Get it now at freeservecourse.com. That's freeservecourse.com. Untitled.com.